I start now?
Please.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, or wherever you are. Good day. My name is Priscilla, and I'm going to speak to you today about AI in Power BI. All right. So to get started, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a Business Intelligence and Analytics Specialist at the University of Central Florida. For all of you who are in football, go Knights. I have a bachelor's degree in management and a master's in communication. I now have 10 years of experience in the business intelligence field. I actually began my career in IT working for a startup, a small business back in 2010. My focus, I first started with T-SQL. I love T-SQL. I love data warehousing, AI, of course. Microsoft Power BI is now my favorite. I'm the go-to person at the University of Central Florida whenever they need help. And I also love business intelligence strategy. Just to let you know, I do have my Microsoft certification. I'm a data analyst associate. For those of you who aren't sure of that, that's just basically saying I got my certification in Power BI. And I also have my Microsoft certification in AI fundamentals. And so I am able to cover this topic today if you are wondering of my expertise. And last, I am the leader of the Orlando Power BI user group. You can find us on meetup.com. We are pretty active. I also have another co-leader with me, the amazing Lucretia. She's very involved, and we're going to try our best to have a meeting every month. We have one coming up this Tuesday. So as I was saying, go to meetup.com. We do actually now have over 200 members in our user group. So it's a great event and it's all virtual right now. So if you're in a different area, please feel free to join virtually. All right. Please connect with me on social media. I love to see everyone's posts on Power BI or AI, and I love to share my knowledge. So please feel free to connect with me. I'm on Twitter as at IT Data Diva. I am also on LinkedIn as well under the same name, IT Data Diva. So let's just talk about our agenda today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss the elements of artificial intelligence. I will then define the AI insights. We will discuss 3 AI insights in Power Query. We will define the functions. We will also do a demo of sentiment analysis. This is very popular. People enjoy it. And then we'll do a review and some Q&A. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so artificial intelligence elements. Now I just want to point out, I'm just going to go over some basic information, cover a little bit of what's on the test, just for those of you who are interested in getting your certification. And this will lead me into the Power BI sentiment analysis demo. So please just bear with me when we go over this stuff. I know the actual visualization part is the fun part, so I'll try to move through this fast. My last presentation, I spoke a little bit longer on just the main concepts, and it seemed like it went by too fast. So I'm just going to try to go through this a little bit faster so we can focus more on the visualization part. Okay, so let's talk about moving back to the artificial intelligence elements. Machine learning, what is that? It's basically using algorithms to teach a computer model to make better decisions from data. The model will improve its experience and it will learn from its mistakes. There are 3 types of machine learning. There's supervised, unsupervised, and then there's reinforcement learning. The next one we have is actually anomaly detection. This identifies atypical patterns in your data. One thing I really like to think of is credit card fraud. As you know, if you go out of town and you make, let's say you purchase some gas, you're driving, you would probably get a notification from your bank saying, hey, we got, it says, you went to a certain gas station to get gas and we're not used to you being in this state. So that's kind of what you can think about for anomaly detection. The next one is natural language processing. This is basically the computer has the ability to understand written and spoken language. The next one is computer vision. And this is when the computer has the ability to see and understand pictures and videos, which is processes, which is pretty, easy to understand. It has it right in the word computer vision. And the next one is conversational AI. And you just think about bots. That's all I always think about. It's just chat bots, For instance, I have on Facebook, I am trying to sell my father-in-law's chair, and right now it's just not selling. So I got a notification from Facebook. Obviously, it's a bot, and it says, "Are you still selling this?" I said yes, and it was having a conversation with me saying, "Okay, well, would you like to lower the price? Do you want to keep it on?" So that's basically conversational AI. Now, you may be wondering, why did I bold 3 of these? Because these 3 are actually included in Power BI, and those are the 3 that you're going to want to focus on is machine learning, natural language processing, and computer vision. You will see it abbreviated, natural language processing, as NLP. That is the acronym for that, just to give you a heads up. All right. So now that we discussed some artificial intelligence elements, let's move on to some machine learning features. We have automated machine learning. This is great. This is basically for non-experts to quickly create an effective machine learning model from data. The next one is Azure Machine Learning Designer. This is a graphical interface enabling no-code development of machine learning solutions. The next one is data and compute management, which you really don't have to worry about. I'm just kind of giving you a brief introduction, though. This is cloud-based data storage and computer resources that professional data scientists use to run data experiment code at scale. And pipelines, too, you don't really have to worry about. This is basically for data scientists, engineers. They can define pipelines to orchestrate model training, deployment, and management tasks. Okay, so that is just a brief view of the machine learning features. Now I'm going to move on to some computer vision services. So Power BI does cover computer vision. And the first one is actually computer vision itself, which is it just uses the service to analyze images and video. It extracts descriptions, tags, objects, and text. Basically, it sees the world and makes sense of it. The next one is custom vision. I really think this one is an awesome service. You use the service to train custom image classification and object detection models using your own images. So you basically, could take a picture of an apple and, label it, or any basically item that you have that's of your own. The next is face, which is just as what it sounds like. It's a service that enables you to build face detection and facial recognition solutions. It is really neat service. And the next one is Form Recognizer, and you actually use this service to extract information from scanned forms and invoices. I found that one really neat. And the nice thing is, if you're actually studying to get the certification, you actually can, get a free trial of all this, and you can actually try it out. It is really cool. The next one is what we're going to be focusing on in Power BI, which is natural language processing. And as I was telling you before, it's actually the acronym is NLP. So the first one is speech, which you use this to recognize and synthesize speech and to translate spoken languages. The next one is language understanding intelligence service, and this is used to this service is used to train a language model that can understand spoken or text-based commands. The next is translator text. This service is used, as it says, to translate text. It has more than 60 languages. And then we have text analytics, and this is the part in here that we'll be spending some time in today. Sentiment analysis, which everybody loves. It's very popular, as everyone probably knows. Key phrase extraction, that is one of my favorites as well. And then you have language detection, which just pretty much is what it says. You could detect your language that you're speaking in. Okay, so before we go into anything else, I just want to take a pause and just talk about 6 principles for responsible AI. You may be thinking, why is she mentioning this? Well, Microsoft takes this very seriously. AI can be very powerful, and if you don't use it right, it can actually cause harm. So I just want to quickly run over those with you. The first one is privacy and security. This is basically, you're going to want to increase reliability on your data. You need to keep your data safe. That's very important. The next is accountability. Designers and developers, should work with a framework of governance and principles that ensure the solution meets ethical and legal standards that are clearly defined. The next is reliability and safety. This is consistent with ideas and values and principles, basically not creating harm. You want to keep people safe. You should reduce or have no risk to human life. You can think about self-driving cars. You have to be very safe with that, as you know. You don't want to have an accident on the road. So that's one principle that's also taking, very seriously. The next is transparency, right? We should be able to understand. Users should be fully aware of the purpose of the system, how it works, and what limitations may be expected. People should basically be open to the how and why, right? You don't want to have something where it's making these predictions and you don't know how. When I did the sentiment analysis, as I'll show you later on, we were possibly speaking about holding our employees responsible for our customers who weren't happy, and highly depending on that to make a decision of whether or not they should get warned about this, or possibly lose their job. But as we figured, it wasn't 100% reliable going through the transparency of it. The next is inclusiveness. AI should empower and basically engage people. And the next one is fairness. It should reduce unfairness. AI can reinforce, sometimes a system can reinforce stereotypes, technical components, and social context, and you want greater diversity of people deploying AI systems. So it should be basically fair to everyone. That's very important to remember. Okay, so let's move on. Let's get more into the Power BI part of AI. The AI Insights feature was released in June 2020. Before this, it was a preview feature. It's used to gain access to a collection of pre-trained machine learning models. So it's already been pre-trained for you, which is really great. Some of the things it covers is text analytics, which is part of cognitive services. Also vision, which is also part of cognitive services. And last is Azure machine learning, which invokes machine learning functions and models. All right, so how do you access these features in Power BI is what you may be thinking, which is a great question. Well, here's the thing. You must have Power BI Premium plan, all nodes. So I don't have Power BI Premium either, and I think it's you'll need A3, EM3 and above, or you'll need Premium per user, which, as many of you know, is a new plan that came out a few months ago that allows you to have to use Premium, only one per user. So if you have Power BI Pro, it's I believe it's, I can't remember the cost of it per month. I want to say 10 or 20, but whatever it is an extra $10. So it's actually very cost affordable for people who can't afford the premium, but you can still get the same services just for one user. The next thing that you can do in Azure, you can actually do another way where you use Azure to call cognitive services, and you'll want to get an endpoint and a key, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. And next, another thing about machine learning models is everyone has access to this. It's available to all users. The only thing is you have to be given in Azure permissions to access that model from Power BI. All right. So as I was just saying, this is a little table that discovers the plans that goes over the plans that cover AI. Over here, as you can see, access to cognitive services, premium, yes, premium per user, yes, and pro, no. And access to Azure machine learning, like I was saying, this is pretty much yes for all plans. You just have to have permissions in Azure by your data scientist to be able to access it. And the next thing is I provide is just a tip. Your AI workload needs to be enabled. And for Pro, when I show you how to access it this way, you're going to need a key and an endpoint from Azure. Okay, so you may be thinking, where is the 8 Insights buttons? Well, as you can see, you can get it from 2 different ways in Power BI. If you go over to the Power Query, you can see here, add column. And over to your right, you can see AI Insights. You have text analytics, vision, and you have Azure machine learning. And also you can access it through Home. And you can see over here, we have text analytics, vision, and Azure machine learning. So there are 2 different ways that you can actually retrieve or get to the AI Insights button. All right, so let's now talk about the text analytics functions, which I was telling you has to do with what we're going to be covering, which is sentiment scoring, key phrase extraction, and language detection. So language detection, it returns the name and the actual identifier. So if it's Spanish, it returns ES, or if it's English, it'll return EN for English. The next is the key phrase extraction, which is my favorite, and we'll go over it. It evaluates unstructured text and returns a list of key phrases in there. And the next is sentiment scoring, which returns positive or negative sentiment in social media and forums. All right, so let's move over to computer vision function. I'm not going to talk about this too much because it's not what I'm going to be reviewing with you today, but I'm just going to let you know it's out there in Power BI. They have tag images, output tags for more than 2,000 recognizable objects. For example, humans, scenery, and actions. All right, so let's talk about the Azure machine learning model. You must have, like I was saying before, to access it, you must have read access to Azure subscription. And I also provided the link to the role assignments if you do want to review those for machine learning. And next is sentiment analysis. And this is the natural language processing, NLP, and this is an area of AI. And as I was saying before, it returns a score from social media, Facebook or Instagram, customer views, and discussion forums. Okay, so let's do a little demo. I am going to just end my show real quick, and I'm going to find the link that I want to share with you, so just bear with me, please. Let's see. Let me put up to my screen. All right. Can everyone see my screen? I know I changed it, so let me see if I can see participants.
Yes, looks fine.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I really like about AI is you can kind of get an idea about what these features are like. If you actually go to AI demos at Microsoft.com, text analytics, we can kind of see, give a taste to what this is like. So what I did was I put, the food at McDonald's was not good today. It was cold and too salty. Please do better next time. So I enter this and I hit next step. And what you're going to see here is certain words are in blue. And if you look down, it says the sentiment is negative. So it's already picking up whether or not the sentiment is positive, negative, or neutral. In this case, it's negative. So next, I'm going to hit the next step. And you're going to see now it's going to do some entity linking. And if you're paying close attention, it underlined McDonald's. And it's going to recognize this in Wikipedia. So I'm going to hit next step. And here it is. It's brings it right up for me. So if I wanted to learn more about McDonald's for entity recognition, I can just click here. And today, I'm not too sure why I brought that up. As you can see, it's not always 100% effective. But overall, this really gives you, a little bit of chance to kind of play with sentiment analysis and text analytics in general and just get a taste of what it's like. It's a little fun thing you can play with. Okay, so let's go back to text analytics and we can go by this. Okay, so to be able to use sentiment analysis and text analytics in Power BI, if you don't have premium, you're going to make sure you have to have an account, an Azure one. I did look up for everybody. If you go to azuremicrosoft.com and you go to free, you can actually create an account there. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a resource or look for cognitive services. I didn't want to sign into the Azure portal just for privacy reasons, and we are recording. So what I did was I just took some screenshots of what you would do. There's lots of resources online though, so if this is not enough for you, feel free just to Google it and you should find what you need. But what you do is you go to cognitive services and you hit create and you go right to text analytics. Excuse me. And you're going to want to add the following information. You can see over here, for me, my subscription is here, and you're going to be able to create your free tier and your region. Just be careful with this because I believe once you pick it, if you change it, there may be some cost with it. I'm not entirely sure, but I have heard that before, so just pay attention to that. Okay, and what are you going to need once you create your resource? Well, you're going to need your endpoint. This is the HTTP address at which your service is hosted. And the most important thing is you're going to need your key. And this is a secret value used by client applications to authenticate themselves. Please keep your key private. If somebody gets it, you will have charges onto your account. So please just keep that a secret. All right, so you may want to do this yourself and you may be thinking, well, I've seen your data. Maybe I want to try my own data. Where can I get some data to play with this and learn? My recommendation to you is to use Kaggle. You can use this website to find and publish data sets. You can also start data science projects there, and the data sets are actually high quality. I highly recommend that site. I really, really like it, and I still use it today. The next one is UCI, and this is another machine learning repository that data scientists or analysts can use for machine learning algorithms. It has about 588 data sets available for use. Excuse me, I did put a link down here. Okay, so those are two places where you can play. All right, so let's do the demo. So I'm just going to end my show real quick, and I'm going to move over into Power BI. And we are just going to go into the Power Query part. And let me just double check. Can everyone see one since I changed screens into Power BI? All right, taking that as a yes. All right, so don't worry about this error. It's just because I'm really not on my VPN right now. I'm not connected. So you will see this. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a custom function. You're going to start with a blank query. So you'll go to new source, blank query. And once you do that, there's some code where I'm going to show you to go to put in, and you're going to put that in. I just can't share it because I have some personal, my key and the endpoint on here. And then you'll go to the advanced editor to put in that code. And then once you get that function, you're going to want to invoke it. And just to point out, you're going to want to make sure your data is very clean. If you do have blank rows, it will have an error and you won't be able to go any further. So please just make sure of that. And another thing too is when you actually when you try to run this, they're going to ask you to sign in You're going to have to do it anonymously, though. Your credentials won't work because you're going into cognitive services and Azure. And I know sometimes that, gives people a few troubles because they actually try to sign in, but you need to be anonymous. All right. So I'm just going to close this real quick. And let's just look at the data. Okay, so you can see here, what I have here is the text. So this data is actually from Universal Studios that I grabbed. And it's what it is. It's basically giving people, is basically giving their opinion about their visit, whether they liked it or not. And as you can see here, I invoked the function and it ran and it returned back 3 columns. As I was telling you before earlier, you're going to have positive sentiment, neutral sentiment, and then you're going to have negative sentiment. As you can see here, let's see this comment. It says, Universal is a complete disaster, stick with Disney. We went to Universal over Memorial Day weekend, and it was a total train wreck. We waited to get in the parking lot for about 40 minutes. We paid for prime parking to make up for all the wasted time. Then we paid extra for the express pass 2 park tickets, only to be turned away and sent to guest services. All right, so we get the point. The person's pretty upset. If you look over here, positive, 0. It's completely right. Neutral, so maybe it picked up some neutral language in there, so it gives you about a 0.05. But basically your negative sentiment is a 0.95. So if you look over here at this row, it will total to 1, basically all these together. And, if you really want to, you can kind of hide these columns and just go over sentiment positive, and you can pretty much, get some good ratings just from using this column. Let's go over another one. Let's see something where somebody is in a better mood. So here's one. So you can see here, consistently magical. I've been to Universal multiple times and I've always been amazed at what they can do to make you really feel like you're in a world of magic. Harry Potter Land is very impressive and fun for everyone. If you want to take your kids to the wand experience, go early or late so you don't run into crowds and have to wait a while and not get picked. Also wear Harry Potter gear, they're more likely to pick you. And just to let you know, those wands are expensive. My kids, I have 3 kids. We had to get a wand for each one. Yeah, and it was a lot of money. All right, so let's go back over now. And, and once you get this data into your data model, you can do a lot of stuff with it. This is just something I made up, nothing fancy. It's just to give you kind of an idea of what you can do with it. If you go over here to May 2nd, we can just click negative, and then we can go to positive, and it filters out pretty nicely. All right, so this is the sentiment analysis part, but I think really what I feel a lot of managers are very impressed with is this word cloud. And it gives you a lot of information. And this is kind of like the key mining part I was telling you about. And what you have to do is you're going to go to get more visuals and you're going to look for the word cloud. And you can see that's what I have right here. For those of you who are not too familiar with Power BI, if you want a custom visual, you'll have to click these 3 dots and you're going to put get more visuals. And you'll be able to see a whole bank full, a whole array of visualizations. And usually we recommend that you go with the ones that are Microsoft certified, because the ones that aren't, to me, aren't as good. Just as a little bit of note for those who don't know too much about that. Okay, so let's look at the word cloud. Right, what I did here is I took, let me just click on this. I took all positive sentiment, and I think I used, let's see what I did. So basically, I think I took everything that was over maybe 0.74 is what I did. I can't remember. And I grabbed basically all positive sentiment. And if you look over here, when it's the word is bigger, you can see people are happier. Or people have more comments on that word, excuse me. So if you see family, you can see here, it says family vacation fun. Adventure Park was the best of the two we went to. Both were impressively clean, not too crowded, and everyone enjoyed these parks. Here's another one, excellent park, family fun. We had a very good time while visiting Universal Studios. The only drawback is long lines. So this person was pretty much happy. Another thing that people mention a lot is park. And you can see here, Harry Potter has a lot of mentions, about 7 times. So I think, it's reasonable to conclude that a lot of people are attracted to Universal for Harry Potter. And you can see they're happy with it. Let's see, here's a small rating. Such a good getaway. Both parks did such a great job, even with COVID going on. I was very impressed. Harry Potter World is such an amazing feature. Another one here, my experience with Universal, a great theme park for thrill seekers and Harry Potter fans, of course. So here's Harry again. Here's rides. Let's see what they feel about rides. Let's see. Excellent vacation for all ages, rides and restaurants, lots of photo opportunities, and a fantastic water show, the best I've ever seen. You can also see fantastic. The whole trip was fantastic. My kids enjoyed it. My husband enjoyed it. I have even enjoyed it, which is surprising because I don't like rides. You see some people are really happy. And if you come over here, there's kind of less comments that mention this, but these were some key phrases. Let's see, a smaller one. Here we go, adventure. So they're just talking about family, vacation, fun. Universal Adventure Park was the best of the two we went to. And I would agree with them. The Venture Park is the one that we like a lot too. The children go on. They have like a Dr. Seuss area, which is a lot of fun. And let's see what else they talk about. Okay, they talk about sanitizer. I'm guessing that they're going to be discussing, when you go to Universal Studios, because I have passes, pretty much every ride you're about to go on, they give you hand sanitizer. So they're really good at making sure that everything is clean. So as you can see over here with this word cloud, a lot of happy people. All right, so let's move over to the negative ones. So what I did here was I basically filtered by negative reviews just to kind of see what would show up. And what I found the most interesting is if you click Disney, for some reason, when people are upset, they love to compare themselves. They love to compare it to Disney. I don't know why, but it's always like, go to Disney and see how they can do it better. So if you look over here, you can see someone says, expected more, I just expected more. A lot of waiting around, lack of staffing, and overpriced tickets for what you actually get. They wanted over $700 for a cabana at Volcano Bay. And that's true. It is a lot of money there. I go there all the time with the kids, but that's if you really want some special attention caring for, and it is a lot. The express passes were close to $150. They need to take lessons from Disney. So there you go again. Here we go. Need to take lessons from Disney. Let's see. Overpriced. The price is more than ever and goes up based on the date you pick. If my kids didn't make me, I wouldn't visit this overpriced park. Way more expensive than Disney. That's true. Disney is more expensive than Universal. So this person's upset too. Save your money and go to Disney. Another person, waste of 8 hours and $400. Stick with Disney. So for some reason they just love to compare them to each other. Don't book this trip. Go to Disney instead. So rides, and I can tell you, basically on anything, I know what the complaint is going to be about rides. It's going to be the wait. And if you look, I'm sure they're going to talk about this. Let's see. I have ever had the rides are outdated and the whole place smells like vomit. All right, well, maybe that was just a bad day they went because I go pretty frequently and it doesn't smell like vomit. It says there's long waiting times, which is true. Let's see. Then they have awful, very rude workers, yelled at tons of people, multiple rides broke down, very, very dirty. Let's see, fun rides, but poor customer service, many fun simulator rides, and I love the Wizarding World, but overall customer service stinks. So it looks like, they're upset with customer service. I'm actually surprised I don't see more about lines. Here we go. Long lines and hurdles to get in, long lines on park rides. Now, I don't know if some of you maybe are not from Florida, but the thing is, you really have to do your research when you go to these parks. They are very popular, and there are certain times of the year where they get extremely crowded, which is July and August. And I would recommend not visiting during those times just because of the crowds. But let me tell you, in Florida, it gets hot, and I mean really hot. And if you're a person, that gets hot very easily, I don't recommend going. You'll sweat. You'll most likely get a headache. It's really not the time to go. But if you do go in the summer, I would recommend you get there very early in the morning and you do some of the rides. Then the afternoon, maybe go back, take a nap, cool off in the pool, and then come back towards the evening time. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time. Another thing I recommend too is to go during the off seasons. And I know this is harder for people if they have children, but I recommend that you go possibly during September. The parks are quiet then, and I know this because I've lived now in Florida for years and I have annual passes, and you'll have better time when the parks are quiet. Because if you go during these, even during Christmas, it's just insanely crowded. So as you can see, this does have an effect on people's ratings. So let's see, lines. Here, this came up too. People, I guess certain things were bothering. Let's see. I think I read this one already, but awful, very rude workers, yelled at tons of people, multiple rides broke down, and then very dirty. Let's see. So they mentioned Universal, terrible, dangerous. In Universal Studios right now, I'm standing outside in a line. It's 90 degrees here. Like I said, it gets hot. So these are the common complaints that I see. And as you can see in this key mining thing, I mean, a key phrase, it knows right away. It picks out right away. It's pretty accurate about, what's bothering people. And, like I said, I 100%, feel this is accurate right here because this is most of the complaints that people get: hot, line, parks, busy. So that is over here, the sentiment analysis, and then the key phrases positive, and then this was the key phrases negative. Now I think it's 12:22, so I do want to leave time for some questions. So let me just kind of finish up the demo and just point out some certain things, then I can turn for some questions. So I'm just going to shrink this, and I'm going to return back to my current slide. All right, everything's working well, so no one has to verify to see my screen. I'm sure you can. So as I was saying before, you're going to want to clean your data. As you're saying, remove all blanks or nulls. Otherwise, your call is not going to work. I like to create another table. That's what I do to kind of limit the number of columns I have to see. And you're going to want to have a unique identifier and text, and I will give you that link to follow along for those of you who want more information on that. And as I was saying before, you're going to create that custom function. This is going to basically integrate Power BI and text analytics. The function reviews the text as a parameter. It then parses the response from the API and returns a string that contains a comma-separated list. You're going to go to a new source and select blank query. You'll go to the home ribbon, and hit Advanced Editor, and then you're going to remove the old code with the following new one. So here's the code that you will use, and like I said before, I'll give you that web page. And this is basically a sentiment analysis code sample. You can just over here towards the end ignore the opinion mining true. That was some additional feature that I was trying out that I couldn't get to work at the moment, but the sentiment analysis is the only part you would have to worry if you're going to try that. And as you can see, it's using JSON over here. So this is the code, and over here is your API, like I was saying you're going to need, and over here is your endpoint. Okay, and I believe I just gave a little more of a in look for here. And then this is the custom function that I was telling you about. And okay, so let's move over to just what I was pointing out about the AI principles. You're going to want to have transparency for sentiment analysis. Like I was saying, it may not always be right. So don't make big decisions off sentiment analysis. Don't say, you know, if you're looking at customer reviews, don't, you know, make a rely on this to whether or not you should hire or fire your employee. Because it's not always 100% accurate. When we did ours on our customer reviews, and sometimes it would give a lower rating to something that really wasn't low, or sometimes it would give a higher rating to something we felt like, you know, wasn't 100% high. You want to consider scenarios outside of the product and service review. Just look outside of the box. Don't always look inside that. And basically, filters are removing content. So just make sure you have what you have there is appropriate. Okay. So what I did here, some additional stuff. I created a little table. I'm not finished exactly with this, so I haven't, you know, published it on any of my pages. But what I did was I took text analytics and I took all the important links and I put them into a little table. And this describes basically what text analytics is about, the API. It gives us the most recent version, describes the text analytics. You can talk about sentiment analysis and opinion mining if you're interested in the opinion mining part. You get transparency note for text analytics. It discusses one of the AI responsibilities that I was telling you about. Text analytics frequently asks questions, and it gives you also a list of the API documentation. So as you can see here, I have a table for you. If you would like that, just let me know and I'll send it to you. Another thing I included is cognitive services, which I was telling you is basically some pre-developed code for you that you can use. I also included some links and I made a table, which I felt would be really helpful to people. And the next is actually what I created for Power BI. This is all the notes pretty much I found on Power BI in AI, specifically for sentiment analysis. So you can integrate Power BI with the text analytics cognitive service, which I was telling you about. So the description about that is using text analytics with Azure Cognitive Services in Power BI. Then you have a transparency note for sentiment analysis and discusses one of the AI responsibilities. So this has all the links here. All right, so let's just do a review and then I'll open it up for questions. I know I've been speaking the whole time. So I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to show you the word cloud and sentiment analysis. Last time I did this, I had to cut it really short. So we just reviewed the elements of artificial intelligence. We defined the AI insights. We discussed the 3 AI insights in Power Query. We defined the functions. We did a demo of sentiment analysis, and then I just reviewed right now with you, gone over, and now we're gonna have some time for Q&A. And also I wanna provide you that link real quick so you can see it. Let me just pull that up. Let me see. Here we go, so here's the page. So as you can see here, this is integrating Power BI with the text analytics cognitive services. So this is if you don't have a premium account. It goes over step by step what to do. It talks about preparing the data, so it's telling you to clean it. This talks to you about the API that you're going to need. You're going to need a unique identifier. And then, of course, you're going to need the text and the language. And then you're going to create a custom function, what I reviewed with you. And you can see over here, you're going to invoke that custom function. And then over here, you can pick which one you want. So you can do the word cloud. And over here is, if you look, this is the API, or this is the code for the word cloud. And then if you want to do sentiment analysis, you would simply just scroll over here and use the code for sentiment. And you can see it right there. So just be careful with that, because if you use the top one, the key phrase one for sentiment, it's not going to work. But okay.
right. Thank you, Priscilla. That was really good. I have a question from Senny Kirkland. How did you get the sentiment points?
The sentiment, let me see if I can kind of see their question. Give me 1 second. They wanted the endpoint? Is that what they wanted to know?
I don't really know if I believe she's talking about, or he's talking about the values for the sentiment that show up.
Oh, right. So I see. So that was what I was telling you, that I couldn't run at the moment because of just, privacy and everything. But what you're going to want to do is, if you look at this web page, you're going to want to go into Power Query, and you're going to want to create a blank query, and you're going to go to Advanced Editor, and you're actually going to put this code in here. And as I was telling you earlier about going to Azure Cognitive Services, you're going to use your API and your API key and your endpoint. And then what you'll do from there is you'll run it. And you'll invoke that custom function, and you'll run it, and that will return those values to you.
Very good. I have a question myself. I'm assuming that this data came from people's comments on Universal's own database or own application. If you were monitoring a Twitter feed to get the data, would it still be the same, or what?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your last part. What was that?
If you were monitoring a Twitter feed, looking for comments related to Universal, how would that work? Because would you then take a snapshot of it in order to put it into Power BI, or what? Because there's Twitter feeds are continuous. They just keep more and more and more.
Right. Yeah. That was one of the concerns that we kind of had with our survey that we were doing. It was kind of like a continuous feed, so I'd have to, continuously refresh it. So what we had planned to do, and this may not be the best thing, but when I was speaking with my employer, what we wanted to do was just have me manually refresh it, because then you'd have to do that call each time, and we didn't want to have it continually calling, because it would charge us. Because, when you make that resource in Cognitive Services, you're going to get a charge.
Right.
Right.
The other thing is that there were all the different colors. Were those colors based on category? I know the size was based on the number of times that word showed up. But what was the color based on?
Are you speaking about the word cloud? I think
right.
That's automated. So I believe I'm not entirely sure, but I think it just picks the colors automatically. I don't think they have any significance.
Right.
If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I'm under the impression that these colors are just picked out.
Okay.
Randomly. I know the size matters, because the more comments, the more.
Right. That's how bigger it gets. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any questions for Priscilla?
I know it's more of an advanced topic, so and it's just now machine learning and AI is getting into companies. So most of the time I know people are just trying to wrap their heads around it.
But sentiment analysis, as far as the companies are concerned, with their how their products are received, how their company is perceived in the marketplace, this is a fairly useful concept for most companies that are selling things to the public or providing services to the public.
Right. Yes. And my employer actually, believe it or not, it was good, but we actually didn't go through with it, unfortunately, because he felt like it wasn't reliable enough. Sentiment analysis. He felt like there was still more to go in development about it. So
yeah, of course, the larger your sample, the more you can rely on it. But,
right. And I think it was, I think it was for the key phrases one. I believe the more data you have, the better, if I'm right. And the sentiment analysis, the less data you have, the better. I remember reading that. I believe that was it, or that was vice versa. But when I was doing all my research on this for this project, which I really loved, that was some of the things about it. And I was really hoping we would go with this, but we decided not to implement it at the time.
The thing is that if you only take one sentiment per person that publishes the information, so that you don't have one person putting 1,000 bad remarks, you might get better data.
Yes, and it, honestly, also our data involved a lot of cleaning. It's free text, so I did have to go in there and take out special things that I believe would kind of break it. And another thing too that you have to be careful of is the kind of like the ambiguity to it. So there's certain words that may be popular in one area but not in another field. That also could kind of take it off. So there was certain things like that that we had to be careful of.
Right. By the way, I've adopted the University of Houston since I moved here, and I think University of Houston and UCF are both in the same conference in football, the All-American Conference. So I think I saw your team play last year. But anyway, that has nothing to do with sentiment analysis.
Oh yeah. My husband's a big football fan, and he encouraged me to put that Go Knights and Go Knights in there. He said, "Put Go Knights in there."
Now that was a positive sentiment for UCF, right?
Yes. But, and it is a great sentiment analysis is great, and the word cloud, I think is really awesome. And you can see when we did the Universal Studios, I just think it's amazing. How much it picked up, and with the word cloud, and what really amazes me is just how people compare Disney. It's their automatic thing, and I'm actually curious if I ran some of the reviews for Disney, if they'd say go to Universal instead.
Wow, you'd have to run both, and actually you probably to get a better feel on the sentiment. That might be something that people who are doing sentiment analysis might consider also doing the same type of analysis on the competitors or competitors' products.
Right.
If they can get the data.
And to be honest, I do have Universal passes, but Disney's still my favorite. I'm still a Disney fan, just because I just love Magic Kingdom. I'm a fan of Magic Kingdom, although I think Universal Studios Volcano Bay is a lot of fun, the water park. I take the children there in the summer when it's really, really hot and we have nothing else to do because it's so hot. And they love that park, but I still miss Disney a lot. It's a lot of fun.
All right, I think we're done there, and there's nothing but nice comments about the presentation. No more questions. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Let me ask you a question. What you showed here, and with all the links you gave to doing it, how do you feel the difficulty level is of implementing at least sentiment analysis for the general people that would be interested in AI?
I think it's easy. For me though, I'm the type of person that loves to know what's going on behind the scenes. So if you're that type of person that's really curious, you're going to want to know about, what is Azure, what's going on in Azure. Then you're going to want to take some more time to look at it. But if you're just trying to get something to work and use the API and the key, you'll get it pretty fast. It doesn't take too long.
What kind of input do you get from the customer, the sales team or the management team or whatever, as to what kind of information they want?
Right now, for me, for the University of Central Florida, so I work in the IT side, so I'm responsible for kind of reviewing how fast we're solving tickets and how well we're doing that. And one popular thing right now to them that they really, really want is to really understand the customer sentiment, how they're feeling. That's been a very popular thing at the moment.
And are you more online than in person at UCF now than you were in the past, or students coming back to school? Are they still, though, attending virtually as opposed to in person, and how do they feel about that?
Right now, so my specific position, since I'm IT, doesn't really require me to be on campus. They did tell us that we can start coming back before the kind of Delta variant was spreading around a little more. So I did go back for a day or two, but there was nobody in the IT department, really, just maybe one or two people. So I said, there's no purpose of me
Sure.
being
No,
here.
I was thinking more about, are the students back, or are the students still virtual?
Yeah, they've been back. They are back. I think there's more coming onto campus this fall. When I was there, it was quiet. When I was there, so I think the students are coming back in more, but I don't really interact with them as much, so I don't know a lot of their feelings about it. I do know that we are offering more and more online classes though to students, and I think that's been very helpful for them.
Right. Is your management interested in sentiment analysis on the quality of virtual classes as compared to in person?
So that's for the other department. So I'm just in the IT spot. We do have another department that works pretty much with the student data. I used to be there, but that was, before, we were doing any of the AI stuff. And I know they are looking into AI right now.
But the thing is, if you look at bandwidth and response time and quality, that type of stuff, that is an IT function, not a student function.
Yes, so that's correct. So yeah, we are focusing right now. We want to know how often our services are up, how often they're running. I just did an API thing for them the other day, but right now we're trying to get them to give us more functionality, so we had to cancel that project. But another thing they're really working on right now is just making sure, like you said, our services are always up, always running. So yes, that's the telecommunications part. So that is one thing we are looking into.
All right.
Thank you. Good questions, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate it too. This has been very interesting. So.
All right. Thank you.
And looking at the heat map, it's a hot topic.
That's good. I've given the presentation a few times now, and I think there was only one time where it was pretty quiet, but most of the time people are really excited.
Sure.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.